The medical bay on Colony Station Meridian 7 hummed with the soft sound of machines keeping a tiny life from slipping away. Dr. Hana stood beside the containment unit, her eyes fixed on the monitor showing vital signs that grew weaker with each passing hour. Inside the transparent chamber lay an infant no bigger than a human newborn. But this child was unlike any baby born in the colony's 5-year history. The infant had pale skin with a faint shimmer that caught the light in strange ways. Tiny fingers ended in soft nail beds that seemed caught between human flatness and something more curved. Fine. Nearly invisible silver hair covered the small head. The baby's breathing came in short, desperate gasps. Each breath sounded like a struggle between two different sets of lungs that refused to work together. Beside the unit sat Tessa, her body curled in a position that would have been impossible for any human. Her silver fur, normally bright with health, had dulled to a gray shade. The bioluminescent markings along her arms and face flickered weakly, pulsing in rhythm with the baby's failing heartbeat. She had not left this spot for 3 days. Her species could go longer without sleep than humans, but even she had limits. Tessa belonged to the Filari, a race of intelligent beings who looked like a blend of feline grace and something wholly alien. She stood upright like a human, but her movements carried a fluid quality that seemed to defy normal physics. Her face held features both familiar and strange, with large golden eyes that could see spectrums of light humans could not perceive. Captain Doyen entered the medical bay with heavy steps. He was a tall man with graying hair and eyes that had seen too many difficult decisions. He approached Dr. Hana and spoke in a low voice, but in the quiet room everyone could hear him. "How much longer does the baby have?" Dr. Hana shook her head slowly. "Hours, maybe less. The cellular rejection is total. The human cells are attacking the Filari cells, and the Filari cells are breaking down the human tissue. It's like watching two armies destroy each other. There's nothing more we can do." Tessa's head turned sharply toward them. Her ears, delicate and pointed, flicked back in a gesture of distress. When she spoke, her voice carried the musical quality of her native language, mixed with carefully learned human words. "There is something. I can save my Jiwan." 6 months earlier, Tessa had arrived at the colony as part of the first Filari diplomatic mission to human space. The Filari were an old race, with technology and knowledge that made human achievements look like child's toys. But they were also cautious and slow to trust. The diplomatic mission was meant to be the first step toward a real alliance. Tessa had been assigned to work with the colony's agricultural team, sharing Filari knowledge of plants that could grow in alien soil. That was where she met Minho, a quiet botanist with gentle hands and a kind smile. Their friendship grew into something deeper, though everyone told them it was impossible. Humans and Filari were too different. Their biology did not match. They could never truly be together in the way that mattered. But nature, it seemed, had other plans. When Tessa discovered she was carrying a child, the entire colony went into shock. The medical team ran every test they could imagine. The pregnancy should not have been possible. Some called it a miracle. Others called it a dangerous accident. Dr. Hana called it the most fascinating and terrifying thing she had ever seen. The pregnancy lasted 7 months instead of 9. Tessa's body tried to adapt to the growing hybrid life inside her, but the process nearly killed her twice. When the baby finally came, born too early and too weak, hope briefly flared. The infant was alive, but that hope died quickly as the baby's body began to fail. Now, as Tessa spoke of saving her child, Dr. Hana felt a mix of hope and fear. "Tessa, we've tried everything. Human medicine, Filari treatments, combinations of both. Nothing works. The baby's biology is tearing itself apart." Tessa stood slowly, her body unfolding with that impossible grace. She moved to the containment unit and placed both paws against the transparent surface. Her markings flared brighter for a moment, casting silver light across the baby's struggling face. "There is a way, an old way. My people do not speak of it, but I know. I have always known." An older Filari stepped forward from the shadows where she had been waiting silently. Elder Yura was Tessa's mentor, gray-furred with age and wisdom. She spoke in the Filari language, a series of melodic sounds that the translation devices struggled to interpret properly. She speaks of the life bond transfer. "It is forbidden, Tessa. You know this." "I know that my baby is dying," Tessa replied, her voice breaking. "I know that I am her mother, and I will not sit here and watch her die when I have the power to save her." Captain Doyun stepped forward. What is this life bond transfer? Can someone explain in words I can understand? Elder Yura's golden eyes swept across the gathered humans. In the ancient days of my people, before we found peace, we discovered a way to share our life force with another being. It creates a permanent connection between two living things. The Falari who performs the ritual gives half of their remaining lifespan to the recipient. They become bonded at a level deeper than blood, deeper than DNA. Their lives become linked forever. And the cost? Dr. Hana asked, though she already feared the answer. The one who gives the bond will age rapidly during the transfer. Years of life gone in hours, and once the bond is formed, it cannot be broken except through death. If they are separated for too long, both will suffer. If one dies, the other feels that death like a physical wound. Minho pushed through the gathered crowd, his face pale with fear and exhaustion. He had been sleeping in shifts, unable to stay away from his dying child for long. His eyes were red from crying. Tessa, no. You can't. I can't lose you both. Tessa turned to him, and her expression carried a sadness that crossed all species barriers. She reached out with one paw and touched his face gently. Her claws, normally retracted, were carefully kept hidden to avoid hurting him. If Jiwon dies, the part of me that loves you dies with her. I would rather live half a life with both of you than a full life with this pain in my heart. Captain Doyen looked at Dr. Hana. Is there any chance this could work? Any medical reason to think a Falari life force could stabilize a hybrid? Dr. Hana pulled up data on her tablet, scrolling through genetic charts and cellular models. The Falari have remarkable adaptive abilities. Their cells contain structures we don't fully understand, something like mitochondria but far more complex. In theory, if those structures could integrate with the baby's failing systems, they might provide a bridge between the human and Falari biology. But this is all theory. I've never seen anything like this attempted. Because it is forbidden, Elder Yura repeated firmly. The life bond was banned 3,000 years ago. It was used to create slave soldiers, bound to their masters for life. It nearly destroyed my people. But that was war, Tessa said, her voice steady now. This is love. This is a mother saving her child. How can that be wrong? The question hung in the air like a challenge. Captain Doyen knew that whatever decision came next would define the colony's future. Would they allow alien interference with a dying human child? Or would they stand by and watch as a mother begged to save her baby? Before anyone could stop her, Tessa placed her paws fully on the containment unit. Her markings began to glow with an intensity that made everyone step back. She closed her eyes and began to sing in the old Falari tongue, a melody that seemed to vibrate through the floor and walls. The ritual had begun. The lights in the medical bay flickered as Tessa's song grew louder. Dr. Hana grabbed her tablet and began recording everything, her hand shaking slightly. Whatever was happening now had never been documented by human science. She would not let this moment pass without gathering every piece of data possible. Elder Yura moved to stand beside Tessa but did not try to stop her. The old Falari's face showed conflict, torn between the laws of her people and the desperation of a mother fighting for her child's life. After a long moment, she began to sing as well, her voice weaving around Tessa's in a harmony that seemed to come from another world. What do we do? Captain Doyen asked Dr. Hana urgently. Do we stop this? Dr. Hana stared at her monitors, watching as the readings began to change in impossible ways. I don't think we can stop it now. And honestly, Captain, I'm not sure we should try. The baby's vital signs are already responding. Inside the containment unit, tiny Jiwon stirred for the first time in hours. The baby's eyes remained closed, but the breathing became slightly stronger. The silver shimmer on the infant's skin began to glow faintly, matching the pulse of Tessa's markings. Minho stood frozen, unable to look away from the scene before him. He wanted to pull Tessa back, to protect her from whatever sacrifice she was making. But he also wanted his child to live. The two desires warred inside him, leaving him paralyzed with indecision. A young woman pushed through the growing crowd of colonists who had gathered at the medical bay entrance. Jihi was the colony's lead botanist and Dr. Hana's partner. She carried a portable scanner and a determined expression. I've been studying the Falari plant samples in the greenhouse, Jihye said quickly, moving to Dr. Hana's side. I found something in their cellular structure that might explain this. Look. She held up her scanner, showing a complex molecular diagram. Falari cells have these protomitochondrial structures. They're like power plants, but they can adapt and bond with other cellular systems. It's how Filari plants can grow in almost any soil. The cells literally reshape themselves to work with the local biology. Dr. Hana's eyes widened as she understood. So if Tessa's cells enter Jiwon's body through this life bond transfer, they might be able to teach the baby's cells how to work together. The Filari structures could act as translators between the human and Filari systems. Exactly. It's not magic, it's advanced biology that we don't understand yet. The song continued, growing in volume and complexity. Tessa's body began to change visibly. Her silver fur started to lose its luster, fading to a duller gray. The bioluminescent markings that ran along her arms and face, normally bright and steady, flickered and dimmed. She was aging before their eyes. How long will this take? Captain Doyen demanded, his military training making him uncomfortable with uncertainty. Elder Yura paused her singing long enough to answer. The life bond transfer requires 6 hours to complete. Once started, it cannot be stopped. To interrupt now would kill them both. 6 hours, the captain repeated. He activated his communication device and spoke to his security team. Kangmin, I need you to secure the medical bay. No one enters without my permission. We have a situation that requires privacy and protection. Outside the colony, news of what was happening spread quickly. In a small community where everyone knew everyone, secrets were impossible to keep. Colonists gathered in the common areas, debating in heated voices whether this alien ritual should be allowed to continue. Kangmin, the security chief, arrived at the medical bay within minutes. He was a serious man with a soldier's bearing, and a deep distrust of anything he could not understand or control. He looked at Tessa, at the glowing baby, and his face hardened. Captain, this is dangerous. We're allowing an alien to perform an unknown procedure on a human child. What if this changes the baby into something that isn't human anymore? The baby is already half Filari, Dr. Hana pointed out sharply. And right now the choice is between this or death. I know which one I prefer. But what about the consequences? What about the precedent we're setting? If we allow this, we're saying it's acceptable for aliens to alter human biology. Captain Doyen's jaw tightened. A mother is trying to save her child. That's the only precedent I see here. Now follow your orders and secure this bay. Kangmin obeyed. But his disapproval was clear in every line of his body as he positioned himself at the entrance. Inside the bay, Tessa swayed slightly, her strength clearly fading. Minyo moved quickly to support her, wrapping an arm around her shoulders. She leaned into him without pausing her song, drawing comfort from his presence. The hours crawled past. Dr. Hana and Ji-hee monitored every change, recording data that would fascinate scientists for generations. They watched as Tessa's life signs slowly decreased while Jiwon's grew stronger. It was like watching a transfusion, but instead of blood, something far more fundamental was being transferred. A young engineer named Sujin arrived at the medical bay carrying specialized equipment. She had been working on the colony's power systems when she noticed strange energy fluctuations coming from this section. Dr. Hana, you need to see this, Sujin said, setting up her equipment. The energy readings coming from this room are off the charts. But it's not electrical energy or thermal energy, it's something else. She showed her readings to the doctor, pointing at patterns that danced across the screen. This looks like quantum entanglement. The kind of thing we only see in the most advanced physics experiments, but it's happening naturally between these two living beings. Dr. Hana felt a chill run down her spine. Are you saying this life bond transfer is creating a quantum connection between them? I'm saying that's what the data shows. If I'm right, Tessa and Jiwon aren't just being linked biologically. They're being linked at the most fundamental level of reality. Their particles are becoming entangled. Elder Yura, still singing softly, nodded as if this made perfect sense to her. During a brief pause in the melody, she spoke. The life bond is more than flesh and blood. It touches the essence of what we are, the energy that makes us alive and conscious. Your science is beginning to see what my people have known for thousands of years. 4 hours into the ritual, Tessa collapsed. Minyo caught her, lowering her gently to the floor beside the containment unit. Her fur had turned almost completely gray, and her face showed lines that had not been there before. She looked like she had aged 20 years in 4 hours. But she continued to sing, her voice weaker now but no less determined. Her paw remained pressed against the containment unit, touching the surface closest to her baby. Inside the unit, Jiwon was changing rapidly. The baby's skin had taken on a healthier color, the silver shimmer now appearing in delicate patterns rather than a sick overall sheen. The breathing had steadied, coming in normal infant rhythms instead of desperate gasps. Most remarkably, small bioluminescent markings began to appear on the baby's arms, faint copies of Tessa's own patterns. "It's working," Jihye whispered in amazement. "The cells are integrating. Look at the scans. The human and Falari systems are beginning to work together." Dr. Hana could barely believe what she was seeing. The cellular rejection that had been killing Jiwon was reversing. The Falari structures from Tessa were entering the baby's cells and creating bridges between the incompatible systems. It was like watching two different languages suddenly find a translator. The 6th hour arrived. Tessa's song reached a final crescendo, then stopped abruptly. Her body went completely limp in Minho's arms. For a terrible moment, Dr. Hana thought she had died. But then she detected a pulse, weak but steady. Inside the containment unit, Jiwon's eyes opened for the first time. They were beautiful and strange, swirling with colors that seemed to shift between human brown and Falari gold. The baby looked around with an awareness that seemed impossible for a newborn, then let out a healthy cry. The sound brought tears to Minho's eyes. His baby was alive, truly alive, not just clinging desperately to existence. Dr. Hana ran her scanners over both Tessa and Jiwon, her hands moving with practiced efficiency despite her amazement. What she found made her stop and stare at the results in disbelief. "Captain, you need to see this. The life bond transfer is complete and it worked. Jiwon is stable, but there's something else. Something that's going to shock everyone." She pulled up an image on the main screen, showing what her specialized equipment had detected. A faint thread of energy, visible only under quantum scanners, now connected Tessa and Jiwon. It pulsed gently like a heartbeat shared between two bodies. "They're linked," Dr. Hana explained. "Not just biologically, but at the quantum level. Whatever Sujin detected during the ritual has become permanent. Tessa and Jiwon are now connected in a way that we've never seen before in any species." Elder Yura nodded slowly, exhaustion clear in her ancient features. "The life bond is complete. My young friend has saved her child, but at great cost. Tessa has given half her life for Jiwon, and now, for better or worse, their fates are forever intertwined." Minho held Tessa close, his tears falling onto her gray fur. "Thank you," he whispered. "Thank you for saving our baby." But outside the medical bay, not everyone was celebrating. Kang Min stood at his post, his expression dark with concern. In the colony's common areas, debates were turning into arguments. Some colonists saw a miracle of love and sacrifice. 2 weeks passed on Colony Station Meridian 7, and in that time, everything changed. Jiwon grew stronger each day, displaying development that amazed the medical team. The baby was not just surviving but thriving, in ways that should have been impossible for someone who had been dying. Just days before that, Dr. Hana spent every spare moment studying the infant and the connection between mother and child. What she discovered rewrote everything humans thought they knew about biology and consciousness. Tessa had recovered from the immediate effects of the life bond transfer, but she was forever changed. Her once bright silver fur remained dull gray, and her face carried lines of age that would never fade. She looked like a Falari in late middle age rather than the young adult she had been, but her eyes, when she looked at Jiwon, sparkled with joy that made the sacrifice seem worthwhile. The baby showed abilities that belonged to neither species alone. When Jiwon cried, the sound carried harmonics that humans could barely hear but that made every Falari in the colony turn their heads. The infant's eyes could track movement in complete darkness, using the Falari ability to see in spectrums beyond human vision. Yet the baby also responded to human voices and touch in ways that pure Falari infants did not. Most remarkable of all was the bond itself. Dr. Hana's equipment could now clearly measure the quantum entanglement between Tessa and Jiwon. When Tessa felt pain, Jiwon became fussy. When Jiwon was content, Tessa's bioluminescent markings brightened slightly. They were separate beings, yet connected in ways that defied normal understanding. Sujin, the young engineer, had become fascinated by the quantum aspects of the bond. She spent hours in the medical bay, running scans and building models. One evening, as Minho sat holding his baby while Tessa rested nearby, Sujin made a breakthrough. "I think I understand what the life bond actually is," she said excitedly, pulling up diagrams on her tablet. "It's not just biological or even just quantum. It's both at once. The ritual created a sustained quantum entanglement between their consciousness centers. Their minds are literally sharing information at the subatomic level. Dr. Hana studied the diagrams carefully. Are you saying they can read each other's thoughts? Not exactly thoughts like we think of them. More like emotions, sensations, basic needs. When they're close together, the signal is strong. But I've detected the connection even when they're separated by the entire station. Distance doesn't seem to matter for quantum entanglement. Minho looked down at Jiwon, who gazed back with those strange, swirling eyes. Is my baby in any danger from this connection? Actually, I think it's the opposite, Sujin replied. The bond seems to stabilize both of them. Jiwon's hybrid biology needs constant balancing between the human and Filari systems. Tessa's presence provides that balance naturally, but not everyone in the colony saw this as a good thing. Kangmin, the security chief, had been gathering support among the colonists who feared what the life bond represented. He called a public meeting in the colony's main assembly hall and nearly everyone attended. We need to talk about what happened in that medical bay, Kangmin began, his voice carrying authority. An alien performed an unknown procedure on a human child. That child is now permanently altered in ways we don't fully understand. What happens if something goes wrong? What happens if this bond turns dangerous? A woman named Yoonji stood up from the crowd. She was the colony's primary journalist, responsible for sending reports back to Earth and to other human settlements. She had been documenting Jiwon's progress carefully. What I see is a mother who saved her child, Yoonji said firmly. Yes, Jiwon is different. But different doesn't mean dangerous. This baby has abilities that could help humanity understand so much about biology and consciousness. Or it could be the first step toward humans becoming something we're not. Kangmin countered. Where do we draw the line? If we accept this, what's next? Will people start requesting these bonding rituals for non-medical reasons? Will we slowly alter humanity until we're not even human anymore? The debate grew heated, with colonists on both sides shouting their opinions. Captain Doyen finally had to call for order, his voice cutting through the chaos. Enough. This isn't helping anyone. We have a healthy baby and a family that needs our support, not our fear. Until I see evidence of actual danger, we're not separating Tessa from her child. But Kangmin was not satisfied. He had already sent his own reports to Earth, detailing his concerns about alien contamination and genetic modification. He knew that authorities far more powerful than Captain Doyen would soon become involved. That involvement came sooner than expected. A ship arrived at the colony carrying Young-ho, a special investigator from Earth's colonial authority. He was a tall man with sharp eyes and an official manner that made everyone nervous. He carried orders that gave him sweeping authority over colonial matters. Young-ho's first action was to visit the medical bay and examine Jiwon personally. Tessa refused to leave the room during the examination, her protective instincts making her hover close to the baby. Dr. Hana supervised carefully, ready to intervene if anything went wrong. Remarkable, Young-ho muttered as he reviewed the scan results. The cellular integration is complete. This infant has a functioning hybrid biology that should be scientifically impossible. Impossible, yet here we are, Dr. Hana said pointedly. Jiwon is healthy and developing normally. Perhaps even better than normally. Young-ho turned to look at Tessa. I need to take the infant to a proper research facility on Earth. The scientific value of studying this hybrid is enormous. We could learn things that might benefit millions of people. Tessa's response was immediate and visceral. She moved between Young-ho and the baby, her body taking a protective stance. Her bioluminescent markings flared brighter than they had since before the ritual, and her voice came out as a low growl that carried clear warning. You will not take my baby. I have authority here, Young-ho replied, though he took a step back from the clearly threatening Filari. This child is partially human, born in a human colony. Earth's government has jurisdiction. Try to take Jiwon, and you'll have to go through me, Minho said, stepping up beside Tessa. His normally gentle demeanor had been replaced with a fierce determination that surprised even himself. Young-ho frowned. Don't make this difficult. I'm trying to help. The research we could do could revolutionize medicine for both our species. Dr. Hana pulled up data on her main screen. You can't separate them. Look at these readings. The life bond requires proximity. When I tried to move Jiwon to another room for testing last week, both the baby and Tessa began experiencing seizures within minutes. The quantum entanglement isn't just a connection, it's a necessity. Separating them for extended periods could kill them both. Young-ho studied the data with a deepening frown. This complicates things. If what you're saying is true, then this bond has effectively created a medical dependency. It's not a dependency, it's a relationship, Ji-hee interjected. They're mother and child, connected in a way that we're only beginning to understand. Would you separate a human mother from her nursing infant? Human infants can survive without their mothers if necessary, Young-ho pointed out. This is different. Elder Yura, who had been sitting quietly in the corner, finally spoke. The investigator is correct. This is different. The life bond was forbidden among my people specifically because it creates an unbreakable connection. Once formed, the bond remains until death. There is no way to dissolve it, no way to weaken it. Tessa and Ji-won are now one being in two bodies. The room fell silent as everyone absorbed the implications. Young-ho looked troubled, clearly realizing that his orders to take Ji-won for study were more complicated than his superiors had understood. But then Soo-jin spoke up, her engineer's mind seeing possibilities where others saw only problems. There's something else you should know, something that might change how everyone thinks about this situation. She pulled up her most recent scans and models, displaying them for everyone to see. I've been analyzing Ji-won's cellular structure. The hybrid biology isn't just stable, it's adaptive. Watch this simulation. The screen showed a model of Ji-won's cells responding to different environmental conditions. Radiation that would harm normal human cells barely affected the hybrid cells. Atmospheric compositions that would poison humans or Filari were filtered and processed safely. Temperature extremes that would kill most life forms were tolerated with ease. What are you showing us? Captain Doyen asked, leaning forward intently. I'm showing you the future of space colonization, Soo-jin replied. Ji-won's hybrid biology combines the best traits of both species and creates something new. This baby could potentially survive on worlds that are hostile to both humans and Filari. If we could understand how this works, we might be able to help humans adapt to planets we currently can't colonize. Young-ho's expression changed from official disapproval to intense interest. Are you suggesting this hybrid could be the key to expanding humanity's viable colonization range? I'm suggesting it's possible. But we can't know unless we study Ji-won carefully, ethically, and with the family's cooperation. Taking the baby away from Tessa would be cruel, unnecessary, and counterproductive to the research. Minho seized on this argument. You want to study my child? Fine, do it here with us present. The news of Ji-won spread across human space like wildfire. Yoonji had been documenting everything since the life bond transfer, sending reports and images to the public networks that connected all human colonies. Within days, billions of people across dozens of worlds knew about the hybrid baby and the alien mother who had sacrificed half her life to save her child. The reactions split humanity down the middle. Some saw Ji-won as a miracle, proof that love could cross any boundary. Others saw the baby as a threat, a dangerous mixing of species that should never have been allowed. Religious groups debated whether hybrid children had souls. Scientists argued about the ethics of altering human genetics. Politicians saw an opportunity to gain support by taking strong positions on either side. On Colony Station Meridian 7, life became increasingly tense. Young-ho remained on the station, living in guest quarters while he filed report after report to his superiors on Earth. Every few days, he would visit the medical bay to check on Ji-won and request more tests. Dr. Hana cooperated fully, determined to prove that the hybrid baby was healthy and posed no danger. Ji-won continued to develop at a pace that astonished everyone. At 1 month old, the baby had the awareness and control of a 3-month-old human infant. The hybrid could track objects with those strange swirling eyes, respond to voices in both human speech and Filari song, and even showed early signs of attempting to communicate. Tessa rarely left Ji-won's side. The life bond meant that any extended separation caused both of them distress. When Tessa had to be more than a few rooms away, her bioluminescent markings would dim and flicker, and Ji-won would become fussy and uncomfortable. The quantum connection between them was not just real, it was necessary for their well-being. Minho divided his time between caring for his family and trying to work in the colony's greenhouse. But his heart was never far from the medical bay where his entire world now lived. One morning, Ji-hee burst into the medical bay with excitement written across her face. She carried plant samples and her research tablet, nearly tripping over her own feet in her hurry. "Hana, you need to see this. I've been growing plants using cells from both human and Filari species, trying to understand the integration process. Look what happened." She placed the samples on Dr. Hana's workstation. The plants were unlike anything seen before, with leaves that shimmered with the same quality as G1's skin, and roots that seemed to adapt to any soil composition. These plants can survive in conditions that would kill their parent species. The hybrid genetics have created something entirely new, something better adapted than either original species. Dr. Hana examined the plants carefully, her mind making connections. This supports what Sujin theorized about G1. The hybrid biology isn't just a mix, it's an evolution. The combination creates adaptive advantages. She turned to where Tessa sat holding G1, the baby nestled against the Filari's gray fur. "Tessa, I need to run a new series of tests on G1. Nothing invasive, just environmental responses. If what G discovered with plants applies to your baby, it could change everything." Over the next few days, Dr. Hana carefully exposed G1 to different atmospheric conditions within safe limits, monitored the baby's responses to various light spectrums, and tested cellular samples against conditions that would stress normal human or Filari cells. The results exceeded every expectation. G1's hybrid cells could process oxygen concentrations that would poison pure human biology. The baby's eyes could see across a spectrum that combined human and Filari vision ranges. Most impressively, the cellular structure showed an ability to adapt to changing conditions in real time, something neither parent species could do. When Young-ho saw these results, his official mask slipped slightly, revealing genuine wonder beneath the bureaucratic exterior. This is extraordinary. If this adaptive ability could be understood and replicated, it would solve one of humanity's greatest challenges. We could colonize worlds that are currently impossible for us to survive on. But then his expression hardened again, which is exactly why Earth's government wants G1 under proper scientific observation. The potential here is too valuable to leave in a frontier colony. "The potential is my child," Minho said sharply, "not a tool for colonization." Before Young-ho could respond, an emergency alert sounded throughout the station. Captain Doyen's voice came over the communication system. "All personnel, we have a situation. A fleet has entered orbit. Multiple ships, both human and Filari. Everyone remain calm and await instructions." The medical bay erupted into activity. Dr. Hana secured all sensitive equipment while Jihyee grabbed Ji-won protectively. Tessa stood, her body tensing with worry, her markings flashing in distress patterns. Within an hour, the situation became clear. Earth's government had sent an official delegation, led by a representative who had authority over colonial matters. But the Filari had also sent ships, including their High Council's own diplomatic vessel. The news about Ji-won had reached the Filari homeworld, and they too had strong opinions about what had happened. Ambassador Hyunwoo was the first to arrive at the station. He was an older human with diplomatic experience spanning 3 decades, known for his ability to navigate complex political situations. He had been serving as Earth's ambassador to the Filari homeworld when news of Ji-won reached him. The Filari delegation arrived shortly after, led by members of their High Council. They were ancient beings, their gray fur and elaborate markings showing ages that spanned centuries. Elder Yura greeted them with deep bows, speaking in the formal high dialect of the Filari language. Captain Doyen arranged for a formal meeting in the colony's largest conference room. Everyone involved in Ji-won's situation was required to attend. Tessa carried her baby into the room, flanked by Minho and Elder Yura, facing an audience that would decide their fate. Ambassador Hyunwoo spoke first, his voice carrying diplomatic neutrality. "The situation we face is unprecedented. A hybrid child exists, created through natural conception that should have been impossible, and sustained through a ritual that was forbidden by Filari law. Both Earth and the Filari High Council have concerns." One of the High Council members, an ancient Filari named Counselor Mirai, spoke next. Her voice carried power despite her obvious age. "The life bond transfer has been forbidden among my people for 3,000 years. It was used to create weapons to bind soldiers to commanders, to enslave the weak to the strong. We banned it to protect ourselves from our own worst nature. Yet Tessa has performed this ritual, breaking one of our most sacred laws." Tessa stood, holding Ji-won close. Her voice was steady despite the fear that showed in her dimmed markings. I broke the law to save my child. I would do it again. No law is more important than the life of my baby. But consider the consequences, Counselor Mireille continued. If we allow this to stand, others will follow. The life bond could spread again. The same abuses could return. Elder Yura rose to her feet, her own considerable age giving her authority to speak. With respect, Counselor, Tessa used the life bond for love, not war. She did not bind a slave or create a weapon. She saved her child. Perhaps it is time we reconsidered whether the ritual itself is evil, or whether evil is in how we use it. The room erupted into arguments from multiple sides. Human colonists debated with Earth officials. Falari spoke in rapid, musical sentences that translation devices struggled to keep up with. The noise grew until a small sound cut through it all. Jiwan made a noise, not quite a cry, but not quite speech. The baby's voice carried harmonics that made every Falari in the room go silent instantly. Even the humans stopped talking, sensing something significant was happening. Then Jiwan spoke. Not in baby babble, but in actual words, simultaneously in human English and Falari speech, the two languages overlapping in impossible harmony. Not weapon. Bridge. The room went dead silent. Everyone stared at the infant who should not have been able to speak at all, let alone speak in two languages at once. Dr. Hana rushed forward with her scanner, her hands shaking. The quantum bond. Jiwan is accessing information from both Tessa and Minho through the life bond. The baby has cognitive access to knowledge patterns from both parents. This is extraordinary. Ambassador Hyunwoo leaned forward intensely. Did that infant just argue for its own existence? Our child, Minho said firmly, finding his voice, is telling you all what we already know. Jiwan isn't a weapon or a political problem. Our baby is a bridge between species, living proof that humans and Falari can be more together than we are apart. Counselor Mirai studied the infant with ancient, thoughtful eyes. This changes the discussion significantly. A hybrid child with accelerated cognitive development, capable of accessing ancestral memory through the life bond. This is something my people have never seen, even in our long history. Young-ho stood, pulling out official documents. I have orders to remove the child to a research facility on Earth. But given this new development, I'm not sure my orders are appropriate anymore. This situation is far beyond what anyone anticipated. Captain Doyen had been silent throughout the meeting, but now he spoke with absolute certainty. I have a decision to make as commander of this colony. Jiwan was born here as a citizen of this colony, and is part of a family that lives under my protection. The conference room remained frozen in the tense moment following Captain Doyen's declaration. No one had expected the colony commander to directly defy Earth's government. Young-ho's face showed shock mixed with something that might have been respect. The Falari High Council members conferred among themselves in their musical language, their expressions unreadable. Ambassador Hyunwoo broke the silence with a heavy sigh. Captain, I understand your position, but you're putting yourself and this entire colony in a very difficult situation. Earth's government will not simply accept this defiance. Then Earth's government will have to come here and explain to me how separating a mother from her baby, possibly killing them both in the process, serves humanity's interests. Doyen replied firmly. I've read the reports. The life bond requires proximity. Separating them is not just cruel, it's potentially fatal. Yoonji, the colony journalist, had been recording everything. She stood up from where she had been sitting quietly in the back. Ambassador, with respect, the people have a right to know what's happening here. I've been sending regular reports about Jiwan. The response from across human space has been overwhelming. Millions of people are following this story. They're going to want to know if their government is threatening a baby. Young-ho turned to her sharply. You can't broadcast this meeting. It involves classified discussions about genetic research and colonial policy. I'm not broadcasting the meeting, Yoonji replied calmly. I'm broadcasting the fact that Earth officials want to take a healthy infant from its parents against everyone's will, despite medical evidence that it could kill both mother and child. People deserve to know that. Ambassador Hyunwoo held up his hands. Let's all take a breath. This situation is spiraling out of control. We need time to consider all perspectives and find a solution that everyone can accept. Counselor Mirai spoke, her ancient voice carrying authority. Perhaps time is what we need. The Falari High Council has watched these events with great interest. The life bond transfer that Tessa performed has caused much debate among my people. Some call for her punishment. Others wonder if we were wrong to ban the ritual entirely. She gestured toward Jiwon, who looked around the room with those strange, swirling eyes, seeming to understand far more than any infant should. This child represents something we have never seen. A true hybrid, not just genetically but quantum mechanically bonded to its mother. The implications are staggering. Elder Yura stepped forward, her gray fur marking her as nearly as old as the counselors. If I may speak, honored council members, I have been here since the beginning. I watched Tessa fight for her baby's life. I helped her perform the life bond transfer, knowing it was forbidden. I did this because I saw something our people forgot long ago. She paused, looking at each council member in turn. We banned the life bond because we feared what we might do with it. We were right to fear our own capacity for cruelty. But in our fear, we also banned our capacity for sacrifice. Tessa gave half her life for love. That is not a crime. That is the highest expression of what any sentient being can do. The room fell silent as everyone absorbed her words. Then Jiwon spoke again, that impossible dual voice carrying across the quiet. Love, not fear. Dr. Hana pulled up her scanner data on the main display. We need to show you all something. Jiwon's cognitive development is not just accelerated, it's fundamentally different from either human or Filari children. The life bond has created a consciousness that operates on multiple levels simultaneously. She displayed brain scans showing neural activity that shouldn't have been possible. Jiwon is processing information through both biological neural networks and quantum entanglement with Tessa. The baby has access to information patterns, not memories exactly, but deep knowledge structures from both parents. Sujin added her own data to the display. And it's not just consciousness. The hybrid biology is showing adaptive capabilities that exceed anything we've seen. I've been running simulations based on Jiwon's cellular structure. In theory, this baby could survive on Class M worlds that would require extensive terraforming for humans, or Filari to colonize. Ambassador Hyunwoo leaned forward, his diplomatic neutrality cracking to show genuine wonder. Are you saying this child represents a possible solution to humanity's colonization challenges? I'm saying the potential is there, Sujin replied carefully. But we can't know without long-term study. Study that requires Jiwon to grow up healthy, happy, and with family support. Not in a laboratory. Young-ho looked troubled. He pulled out his communication device and stepped aside, speaking quietly to someone on the other end. The conversation was brief, and when he returned, his expression was conflicted. I've just spoken with my superiors on Earth. The public response to this situation has been significant. There are protests on multiple worlds, both supporting and opposing this family. The government is under pressure from all sides. He looked at Tessa, Minho, and Jiwon, then at Captain Doyen. My orders have been updated. I'm to monitor the situation but take no direct action at this time. Earth's government wants more time to consider the implications. Captain Doyen nodded slowly. That's a start. But it's not enough. This family needs permanent protection, not just a temporary reprieve. Councillor Mirai conferred with the other Filari council members, their musical speech too rapid for the translation devices to keep up. Finally, she spoke. The Filari High Council has reached a decision. We will not punish Tessa for performing the life bond transfer. Instead, we will study what has happened here. The ritual was banned to prevent abuse, but perhaps there are uses we had not considered. A life bond formed from love rather than domination may be something different entirely. She turned to look directly at Jiwon. This hybrid child will be watched closely by both our peoples. If what we observe proves that the life bond can be used ethically, for healing and connection rather than control, then perhaps it is time to reconsider our old laws. The tension in the room began to ease slightly, but everyone knew this was not a final resolution, merely a pause in the conflict. Yoonji stood up again. I think everyone should know that my reports about Jiwon have received unprecedented attention. The public response has been remarkable. People are sending messages of support from across human space. They're calling Jiwon the bridge baby, symbol of what humans and Filari can achieve together. She pulled up her own data, showing message counts and sentiment analysis. For every person who fears what this hybrid represents, there are two more who see hope. Humanity has always moved forward by embracing what's new, not hiding from it. Minho held Jiwon closer, feeling his baby's heartbeat against his chest. Our child isn't a symbol or a political issue. Jiwon is a person who deserves to grow up with love and freedom. Whatever comes next, that has to be the priority. Tessa placed her paw over Minho's hand where it supported their baby. Her bioluminescent markings pulsed gently, in sync with the faint patterns that showed on Jiwon's skin. The life bond was visible even to those without scanners, a connection that transcended species. "We are family," Tessa said simply. "That is all that matters." Ambassador Hyunwoo stood slowly, his old diplomat's eyes seeing the bigger picture. "Captain Doyen, I'm going to recommend to Earth's government that this colony be designated as a special research zone. G1 and this family will remain here protected and supported, while we study the long-term implications of hybrid biology and the life bond." He looked at the Falari Council members. "I hope your people will agree to collaborate on this research. What we learn here could benefit both our species." Councillor Mireille inclined her head in agreement. "The Falari High Council will assign researchers and observers to this colony. We will watch this hybrid child grow and learn what becomes of a life bond formed from love, rather than domination." The meeting concluded with more questions than answers, but at least there was no immediate threat to Jiwon's family. As people filed out of the conference room, small groups formed, discussing the implications of everything they had witnessed. Kang Min, the security chief who had been so opposed to the life bond transfer, approached Captain Doyen quietly. "Captain, I want to apologize. I was wrong to see only the danger. That baby spoke today, called itself a bridge. Maybe that's what we need more than anything." The captain clasped his shoulder. "Fear is natural when facing the unknown. What matters is what we do with that fear. We can let it control us, or we can choose courage instead." 6 months passed. Jiwon grew rapidly, developing at a pace that continued to amaze everyone. The baby could walk at 4 months, speak in full sentences by 5 months, and showed cognitive abilities that matched human children several years older. But Jiwon was still a child, still needed love and care and the security of family. Tessa adjusted to her new life as a mother who had aged prematurely. Her gray fur and lined face marked her sacrifice, but she carried it with pride. She had saved her baby, and that was worth any price. Minho discovered that being father to a hybrid came with unique challenges. Jiwon needed different foods than human babies, could see things in the dark that scared other children, and sometimes spoke with that dual voice that unnerved visitors.